All right, Augie, what's going on? Welcome to the
Good
podcast.
man. Hey,
Appreciate you being here.
yeah, thanks for having me, dude. I appreciate that. So,
Yeah, I was thinking back. It's been a few years since we first met, but I don't know if we've done a full deep dive into what you've been doing lately. We've caught up on other stuff, but not on this. So, for those that don't know who you are, or maybe haven't had the chance to dig up on your background, could you give us a quick blurb on who you are, what you do, and where you live?
uh, so I'm a real estate investor. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I started in real estate 2005 as a real estate agent, and that's when the market crashed in 2006-7. So, I learned how to go through, work with foreclosures, short sales, distress situations, and when the market was down, my business was up. So that's why and over this time, I learned how to work with a lot of banks, a lot of foreclosures. So we were negotiating um, default situations. We were doing a lot of repairs for the banks, a lot of management for the properties. So out of all that experience, um, I learned how to deal with investment properties. 2016, I started buying and holding rental properties for me personally, building my portfolio. So, and during the time, I came up with a lot of difficulties that I had to handle, like lack of cash, lack of money, not enough. Banks don't want to give me loans. My legal structures were not correct, and things like that. So, somewhere couple years ago, I decided to put my experience into a coaching company or a consulting company. So now that's how I created the Buy and Hold Academy. So helping out investors build their portfolios and specifically how to get to $10 million rental portfolio and how to create it, manage it, and the whole structure. I'm still active. I'm a real estate broker. I don't do a lot of sales still, but um, we do a lot of fix and flip properties in the state of Arizona. We buy a lot of foreclosure auctions, and we flip, anywhere from 60 to 100 properties a year. I buy rental properties for myself. I have about 30 units, and I keep buying more rentals. So that's kind of it. That's where my experience comes in the buy and hold residential real estate.
Sorry, I was muted. Just to recap, your portfolio now is 30 units that you own, and then you'll do 60 to 100 flips per year, or is there other stuff as well, or is that a good summary of it?
Yeah, that's a good summary. But yes, I don't. I've personally sold about 1,000 homes, like a real estate agent, but
Uh-huh.
I don't. That's on the back burner. I don't do sales for clients anymore.
Got it. So, what is your main focus in the business now when it comes to real estate? Where do you spend most of your time, like physically time, or just like your energy thinking and planning and strategizing?
Yeah, mostly is building my portfolio, buying more rental properties, and out of that, coaching other investors how to do it.
Got
And
it.
I just I call it I'm a guru, not a guru. I teach what I do, so that's the difference. Everything I teach other people is exactly what I do in my business. It's the same thing. I don't come up with stuff that I have never tested. So when I teach it means that it works in my business.
Gotcha. And of the 30 units, what's the breakdown? Is it single families, multifamily,
Mostly single family, yes.
Airbnbs? What is the model there? Long-term rentals?
So long-term rentals is my focus. I do have um, small multifamily, and I do have one Airbnb. I have one sober living, but my focus out of all this is long-term, unfurnished, boring rentals. That's that's the goal.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And
and I have one Airbnb that's how we hooked up on the Airbnb,
mhm.
but I will be selling that. It's not I don't want to manage that.
Gotcha. What does your team look like to manage an operation like that or a portfolio like that?
Just me.
Got it. So
So
you're doing the management of those 30 units and
yes,
you're like,
that's what I teach also in the Buy and Hold Academy, and I call it lifestyle landlording.
hmm
So all the systems that you can control your rental portfolio from anywhere in the world. So you don't have to be physically in the market.
got it. Augie, just
But
one quick thing. Well, I'll edit it, but little less pitchy. Let's just talk about your stuff, like what you have, and then we'll talk about like the academy and teaching at the end. I just don't want that to be like as
got you.
focal in this part of it.
Okay,
Yeah, just more about like what you do, your business, and then we'll talk about that like dedicated at the end. Okay.
got it. Okay.
Okay.
I don't even mean to pitch. So
No, no, it just
I don't want to be
just
a
know how
pitch at
people are.
all.
If they
Yeah,
not pitchy, but just like if people hear coaching like too early, too often, they might check out. I don't want that to happen. They want I want them to hear your story.
got it. Okay.
Okay, cool. So you have 30 units. A lot of people I know that have 30 units, they are glued to their phone. They're getting phone calls all the time. They're doing repairs. They're at the properties. You don't seem like that type of guy to me. So how is that the case? How are you not being pulled into stuff constantly and at the properties, fixing stuff property and having headaches if it's just you?
I I try to put systems in place. So in the everything I try to do as a system in my business is to not physically be here. So if I travel, if I go somewhere, I can just use my phone to handle things. Requests from tenants, send people, receive payments. Some of the properties that I own, I haven't seen in 5 years physically.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's what I try, not to be physically there.
Got
Just
it.
free to travel any way you want.
I love it.
Plus,
Same as
I
me.
forgot to say something that I I started a property management company a few years ago. I did sell that my partnership in that property management company, but during that process, I learned how to systemize the property management and to do it just online practically. So you
Got
don't
it.
have to see it. So I'm using some of that experience to my thing. So, but I'd like to do things myself so I can teach other people how to do it. So it's
Where
not
do you
fair if you don't do it.
where do you draw the line of something that you will or won't do? You know, a tenant calls you at 2 in the morning and says, "Hey, my air conditioning is broken." Are you going out there or are you calling a handy person? Is that call going to like what's your workflow in that situation?
Okay, so one of the rules I have is I don't take orders, work orders over the phone. Everything has to be done through the mobile app, online. So he has a date stamp, time stamp, and then if it's the middle of the night, nobody's gonna get there until next day.
Yep.
Simple.
Yep.
So you have rules. You have lifestyle. You cannot jump middle of the night. Somebody calls you. If it's an
hmm
emergency, they can call 911.
True.
That's it.
100%.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But like you have that's why I have some kind of a written systems. Like let's say you move in the tenant in the property. You have to go through a checklist. Hey, this is the turn off valve for the main water. This is the shut off for the electricity. This is where the gas is. This is what it is. And do not call me. Always do this. Go online, and then we're gonna respond somebody right away. Whatever, things like that. But
hmm
anticipate the little problems.
I gotcha. So if someone, let's say, has an issue and they put it through a work order through the app, what happens then? Does it go to you? Does it go to a general contractor, a handy person? What's the routing look like?
No, it comes to me because property management, there's two things that I'm trying to do the best. One is to get the right people in as tenants as soon as possible, and second thing is the maintenance, because these are the two things that the most important thing in a in a in a rental portfolio to manage it. Getting the people in so you get income, and maintenance as far as do you have to do it or to what level do you need to do it. The tenant calls you, And now the question is, can this be done im immediately? Do it need to be done immediately? Is it a health and safety issue? Or you can just put it on the back burner and do it in a month or two, or combine it with some other work call. Because if it's something dumb that it's cost $20 to fix, you still have to send someone to pay them $100 to drive there the time. So if you can combine small little things into one big thing and get someone go there. Another thing that I started doing is every second month, I send a person to change the filters in the house. So they have an eye on the property, and the tenants can tell them, hey, this is broken, so they can see it. And maybe they fix it on the spot, or they create a work order and tell me, hey, we have to go back and fix this, and something like that. And or I collect small requests, and next time the person goes to change the filters, I tell them, hey, while we're there, why don't you look at this and fix it? So kind of a combine the small stuff.
Mhm. Gotcha. You mentioned it a few times, how important it is to find the right tenants instead of maybe that'll clean up things once they're already in the property. Can you walk us through your process to find tenants? Like, let's say you have a vacancy in a property coming up in a month. What is your plan, let's say starting today or however far out you would start your planning to fill that unit?
So in my contract, I do have minimum 60-day notice from the tenant before they move out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that also goes backwards. Before, when you set up your rental, you want to have good photos on file, floor plan on file, and in the lease agreement to have minimum 60 days notice, and then approval from your tenant that you can start marketing and showing the property during these 60 days that they're going to be leaving. So you start the marketing the property immediately. Another thing you can do also, once you get a notice, what we do is we try to get into the property to see what needs to be fixed. So the moment the tenant moves out, you have the crew ready to do the little things, and so that vacancy thing goes down. So the person that you choose, the rate you write the contract, so you can get the vacancy down to the minimum. Of course, you got to look at the market overall. For example, a couple of years ago, that Airbnb was crazy. Any Airbnb was good. Any Airbnb was making money. Then in all the long-term rentals, the market was really good. It's just within days you get tenants, and the rents were going up. Now that's not the case. So you might be just changing strategy of finding tenants. Now what we're looking is towards housing programs, like Section 8 programs. Because with the government programs, these are long-term steady tenants. I mean, steady payments from the Section 8. You still have to control the maintenance and the tenants, but you don't have any problems with getting paid for the rent. And now, because the way the market is going for the last year, probably the next year or two, the rental market is not going to be that easy. So the rents are flat. It's harder to find tenants. So maybe you should be shifting the strategy to find something else. Airbnb is not doing very well. There's a lot of restrictions, traveling is less, a lot of competition. So you might be shifting from the Airbnb. Or sober living was, in the Phoenix market, was crazy for a couple of years until they figure out that there's a lot of scammers and trying to scam the insurance companies. So very quickly they shut it down. And now sober living is not that good for renting to that. So you just follow the market and see what's the best for that time.
So
Which
let me
tenant
ask
is the
you.
best?
So it's a non-Section 8. It's a property in a nice, let's say, B class area. 60-day notice, you get that. What are your tactical steps? Where are you going to look to see how much to rent it for? Where are you going to list it for rent? Who's going to do the pictures? Like, who's going to do the showings? Like, walk us through, I guess, the nuts and bolts.
So you get the notice from the tenant. You get 60 notice. Okay, and then you already have pictures on file from when the before the tenant moved in. You don't go and take new pictures because they don't look very nice. You just put the pictures. You do your own research on the comps, on the rentals, see where the market is going. Is the market tough, easy to rent, not easy to rent? Depends.
Any
And
favorite sites you use for comps? You know, if someone's trying to figure out how to rent.
absolutely use Zillow.
Zillow. Okay.
Zillow has everything because all the property management companies rent their properties, advertise their properties on Zillow, but they do not advertise it on MLSs.
Okay.
So go on Zillow, and Zillow has, I would say, 100% of the market. So that's the best comparables. However, on Zillow, you cannot see sold comparables, but you can see your own competition. In this area, what's available for rent.
Got it.
And you can see the prices, you can see the pictures, the features, and then you can see how that compares to your property.
Got it.
So if the market is good, and also the other thing is what time of the year it is. So certain markets, certain time of the year is not good for rent. If it's wintertime, snow, nobody wants to move.
Yeah.
Or holidays, same thing. So there's a lot of preparations. For example, don't do your I don't do my leases strictly for 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
I do them to avoid the months that I don't want to have move outs. For example, I don't want to have anybody moving out July and August because I take vacations. And then I don't want anybody moving November, December. Preferably in our market, springtime is the best for finding tenants. So if my lease is ending on November, I would just intentionally move it to become ending in February. So instead of 12 months, it will be 14 months lease. So this way, if the tenant decides to leave, I have vacancy in the best time of the year to find a tenant.
That's
So
smart.
you there's no one straight answer how to get the good tenant. It's just the little pieces that you build over time, and they just add a little bit to the efficiency. For example,
Mm-hmm.
don't end your lease on the 30th. End the lease on 15th of the month. Because if you have a tenant that wants to rent the property and you say, hey, the property is available on 5th, but they have until the 30th, they already paid rent. They don't want to pay double rent. They say, okay, I want to move on 25th because my rent expires on 30th. But if your original lease ends on 15th, and then you have 5 days to fix the property, and you say, hey, you tenant, the property is available, you can move in on 20th. Then you can get the tenant to move on 20th, and then between 15th and 20th, you have only 5 days vacancy. But from 5th and 20th, you have 15 days vacancy.
Are you saying that 5 days is when you'll like repair the property?
Yes, you
Carpet
give a
paint.
little, yeah. So if you follow, like, you get a notice on the 60th day, you get the pictures, you get the property marketed for the price that you think it's going to go. Then call the tenant, visit the property, do a punch list of what needs to be done. The day the tenant moves out, the next day you already have scheduled the things that needs to be done. But remember, you already have 60 days to market the property and talk to potential tenants, maybe schedule a view showing. And they say, okay, we want to rent it. And then you give him a time. And you give yourself 5 days, schedule everything in advance, and do it and move the tenant. Of course, this is the perfect scenario. It doesn't always work like that, but you need to have a goal towards what you have to work on.
Got it. And in that process, how much of it are you doing versus getting help from other people, or is it all you?
It doesn't have to be. It could be all you.
No, I'm saying
But
you though. Are you getting help from a
me,
broker? Yeah, yeah, in that exact situation.
I list my properties because I already have my property saved in the CRM that I'm using. All it takes is click of a button to be uploaded and ready to go. I use a automated self-showing system, so I don't have to be there if the property is vacant. But um, if it's occupied, then I have to be there. So I would go for that.
Hmm.
Um, and for the repairs, I don't do any of the repairs myself, not at all. But I would go and inspect the property and create the punch list of what needs to be done.
Can you talk us through the automated showing process? That's interesting, and I think a lot of people don't do that. So, what does that look like for you?
So I have a system that it's a CRM that has log boxes, and I buy the log boxes, and they have preset 5,000 different codes, and they upload it. They connect it with a online CRM. That CRM, I put all the information for the property, and from that CRM, it gets syndicated as a marketing to multiple websites. One of them is Zillow. So anyone that requests information from Zillow goes to the website, goes to the CRM. CRM has interactive AI, which starts sending text messages and say, hey, do you want to see the property? Click on this button. They say, yes, we want to see the property. They schedule a specific time, and the system assigns one-time code to the person. So the person goes to the property, opens the app, the satellite connects the location with the property, issues one-time code, and the person opens the logbox, goes inside, sees the properties, goes out, leaves, and the system asks him, hey, do you like the property? Yes, I do. Do you want to apply? Yes, I do. Automatically, the system sends a link to the application, and then you can get an application without even talking to the person.
Got it. Have you ever messed around with the application before they see the unit, or they need to see the unit before the application? I guess I'm asking that just wondering if you've ever had an issue with someone, maybe doing damage in the property or something like the wrong person getting into the property before you know anything about them, as far as an application goes.
So you can set up the security features on the system as high as you want. So they need to um, scan the driver license and driver license with the name. You see it. The name has to match the phone number. You can even go a little further by them providing a credit card. You can do it as hard as secure as possible as you want.
Hmm. Gotcha.
But so far we haven't had the issues. I'm not saying it cannot, may happen, maybe not. It's just
Hmm.
because on Zillow, when tenants look for properties, they click all this button: is this available? Is this available? Is this available? And then you get so many requests for some people that you're just spending so much time typing emails, asking questions, and all that. You can automate this process very easily with all the preset text messages and showings and applications and everything.
What's the CRM that you're using for that?
Show Mojo is the name.
And that does all the things you said as far as like messaging them, the security of the self showing system, all
Yep.
that's built into Show Mojo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. Cool. Um, yeah, that's just something that I haven't really heard people talk about, but it's very interesting if you don't have to be there and you don't have to be involved with all the back and forth. That's cool. Is Show Mojo a CRM you use for other parts of your business or just that?
Just that. For the collecting payments and managing the tenants, I use a different system.
Got it. Can you walk us through, I guess, what softwares you use and what each of them are for?
So Show Mojo is for the showings,
Hmm.
and Door Loop is the one that I use to manage the properties and collect payments, sign contracts, late payments, accounting. That's the system that's the software I use.
Got it.
Um, these are the two actually. I don't I don't need any more.
Gotcha. I'm curious. I have been out of the traditional rental game for a while, and the units that I do have are managed by a property manager. Are payment collections on auto deposit, or do they have to be sent in manually each month?
I do only exclusively ACH only,
So
auto deposits. And they have, if they don't have the money, they have the option to pay with credit card, which they get charged 3% on top of it. But I don't collect checks, no cash, no mail, no money orders, nothing like that.
does the money auto? I guess I meant that's good to know also. But does the money auto withdraw from their account, or do they have to manually send it each month? I don't know if there's laws or anything around that, but just curious.
I prefer, they have the two options.
Okay, so they
So
can do auto pay. You can't auto
yes,
draft them, but they can choose to do it.
yeah, they just click the button, auto draft, and the system automatically takes him on the first of the month.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Um, I want to talk more about systems because, again, it's very rare that I come across someone that has so many flips going on and so many units that doesn't have a team and also is like so reliant on automation. So, what other, I guess, systems that do you utilize in your business? It could be more on like the rental stuff, but also to do 30 to 60 to 100 flips a year. I imagine the systems have to be pretty good. I guess if we started just on deal flow, I'd be curious, like, how does deal flow happen just being like a one man band for that many deals?
So I take, so for the flips, I don't do it myself.
Oh, okay.
So I do have a team, do 60 flips. So because we buy strictly our deals from foreclosures, auctions. When somebody stops making the payments, the banks goes in foreclosure, and if they don't pay on the third month, there's a live auction for this property.
Hmm.
So we go there, we bid live for the property, and we pay cash for it within 24 hours.
Gotcha.
So in order to do this, I have a team of two people just only researching these properties, dispatching people to check them, checking titles, bidding. I do have my business partner. He's also covering some of the things that we do. For example, when we buy a property, he covers a lot of the repairs until it gets time to be listed. When it gets listed, I take over, and I have a full time, not a full time, but person that works only for us, office manager, that we list everything in house and negotiate everything in house. And that person has a lot of authority. Let's put it this way. So I've given, like, anything within 3% of what's listed, you can accept the offer. You don't even call me. And certain things, like, we get a offer that's below market. Okay, the system is you counter full price offer, counter offer, and go back and forth. And if they ask for a lot of repairs, we do this, this, this. Everything is systemized in steps that the person has a lot of authority. Like, they don't come to me for stupid questions. So
Got it.
they can even have my full approval of sign and accept an offer on my behalf.
Got it. You
So
mentioned
things are, so giving the right people, small team, but the right people with high authority, it's the key to go.
where did you find those people?
Over time, like the person, the office manager, my right hand person, has been with me for 12 years.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Did you know them before, or how did you
Yeah, they
come
worked for
across?
me over the years. Yes.
Got it.
So you try to hire the best people, but at some time, it's if C doesn't work, it's just let him go.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately, it just there's no other way. It's
I,
just try it. If it doesn't work, let it go and figure out. But smaller team is better. Small team with high volume, high authority, it's way better. Everybody gets paid better too.
I gotcha. Where do you think for your business is the best way to find people? to if it's in-house people or contractors, any hiring tips or favorite ways that you found people to
Oh, contractors, they come and go.
any. I mean,
You're
if
gonna
there's
be burned.
any
Yeah,
tips
no.
you could share.
Oh, so we've called churches and asked the pastor, hey, who is the trustworthy guy that we can hand $10,000 and count on this person to give it back next day, for example,
Huh.
and then ask referrals, and you get a one good guy that does a good job and ask him, hey, who do you know that does a good job also? And usually the good people hand would, you know good people too.
Right. 100%. Wow, that's
But
interesting.
we
Never.
get burned a lot.
Yeah.
We got burned a lot. We lost a lot of money. So
Any things you wish you would have known earlier with hiring or managing people that, you wish you would have told yourself or known at the beginning?
oh yeah, first you need to know yourself before you start hiring, because right now I'm a very bad person to hire people because I like everybody and
Hmm.
I would outsource that to somebody else.
Got it. Okay, so you would have told yourself in the beginning, I'm not going to trust myself to hire anyone. I'm going to give that to
Yes,
someone else. Got it.
yes, yes, because you need to know yourself first. Are you good in that? If you're not good in this, is just find the right person to do it for you.
Gotcha. And you mentioned you have a partner. What is the roles and responsibility breakdown between you and your partner? What does he do? What do you do? And how do you make sure you don't overlap too much?
So it's, let's say if you have a fix up property, you buying the property in the process. So you have to buy it. So you have to price it, comp it in the beginning, figure out how much repairs you need to do, how long it's going to take, and then manage the people doing the repairs, then list the property, negotiate, and close the deal and get the money. So let's say this is the time. So the way we have done it is we split it kind of in half. During the acquisition, any one of us can make a decision to buy a property because we trust each other's experience and knowledge.
Hmm.
But if we don't, on the beginning of buying a property, we collaborate and say, hey, what do you think we should buy for this one? Okay, we buy it. Once it's bought, then he takes over until the property is ready to hit the market. Once he calls me and says, property is ready to hit the market, give me a price. Then I get the pictures of finished product. I jump online and I make a decision what we're going to be listing the property for. Then I just give a number to the office manager. Office manager does the rest, fixing, uploading pictures, listing the property. And when the offers start coming in, the office manager has authority to do a lot of things on my behalf. And when we get to the point that the office manager calls me and says, I've exhausted all negotiating tools, tricks, whatever, the max we can get from this property is this. Do you approve it? And I say yes or no. And then she accepts the offer and we move to closing. I handle all issues during closing, renegotiations, appraisals, things like that. And then the deal closes and money goes back into the account. And that's how we do it. During the time I'm focusing on closing the deals, my partner is focusing on pushing the deals to me. So the circle goes in. So in order to, there are 3 stages. So it depends how many properties you want to, let's say if you want to close 5 properties a month, you need to have 15 deals in the pipeline. You need to have 3 properties being fixed, ready to go. You need to have 5 properties being on the market, marketed to be sold. And you need to have 5 properties under contract to be sold. That's what I found over the years. It's 3 stages. So if you keep the pipeline full, you're always going to have. Let's say if you wanted 3 properties closed, you need to have always 3 in repairs, 3 listed, 3 under contract,
Got it. How do you
and
manage
always.
that? Like, is that just having a really good CRM and SOPs and contractors with that many
Oh
moving
yeah,
parts?
so we use CRMs and we use We use Google for all the communication. Each property has its own thread. Multiple people talk in one location. We have other apps that we send people to send pictures. All the pictures come through a separate app. Everything's automated as much as possible.
Gotcha.
So,
Cool.
but the human factor is always there.
So I know you help people with this as well, building out their business, building out their automations. So can you talk to that as well, of what you've gotten into with that part of the business?
I because I got my property first rental, I got in 2016, and at that time I only had limited amount of cash. I borrowed money from my open line of credit against my property, and I had $100,000,
Mm-hmm.
and that was line of credit. So when you buy a rental property, you have to put 20% down payment minimum, and 100,000 is not. It's like you can buy only 2 properties, and then you said and done. That's it, no
Mm-hmm.
more. The question is, how can you get more with less money? And that's when the BRRRR strategy at that time, it wasn't very popular, but over time the BRRRR strategy got very popular. Buy it, repair it, rent it, refinance it, and do it again, repeat it. So that's how you can do it. The problem with that strategy was that it was slow. It takes a year. You buy the property, fix it, and increase the value. But in order to get your money out, that was considered a cash out refinance. And the bank says, on a cash out refinances, we don't care what the current market value of the property is. We only care what you bought the property. And this is for the first year of ownership. So you had to buy it, increase the value, wait 1 year, and then get your money out so you can buy again. And that was the problem. So that's why I came up with a different system. I figured out that cash out refinances have that restriction of 1 year of seasoning owning the property. So I found another way to refinance him, going away from cash out refinance. I started refinancing him using rate and term refinancing with which didn't have any seasoning involved. I could buy the property and refinance it next day. So this allowed me to use the same $100,000 over and over and over faster every other month. When I find a deal, I didn't have to wait a whole year to do it. So with the same amount of money, I bought all my properties. And then out of that, it started, hey, when you want to do rental properties, you have no other option, but you have to work with the banks. It doesn't matter how much cash you have. At some point, you got to work with the banks. So then you have to be bankable. Now, becoming a bankable is to get unlimited amount of funding from the banks. They need to like you, like your income, tax structures, everything. So then I had to learn how to reorganize my LLCs, holding company, trusts, so I'm easy to finance my deals. At some point, my tax returns were 500 pages. So imagine giving you 500 pages of tax returns to the underwriter in the bank. They don't know what to do with it. So you have to restructure all this so you can give them just 15 pages that they're trained to look, and it's easier for them to get financed. So,
Showing
and then
that
other restrictions,
specific.
yeah, like Fannie and Freddie conventional loans, they cap you at 10 loans per person. So you need to, instead of when you and your wife, let's say 2 spouses go on a loan to buy a property, that loan counts against each one. So if they together buy 10 properties, they're capped with Fannie and Freddie loans, conventional loans.
Mm-hmm.
And conventional loans are the cheapest with the best terms, so you want to do that. So we had to learn how to, I split them. I buy 10 and then I my wife buys 10. But when you split the spouses, you split the income also. So we had to learn how to be able to file taxes in a way that you're flexible to move 100% of the income to one spouse. And when the spouse buys 10 properties, move the income 100% to the other spouse, so that spouse can be bankable and qualified to buy loans. So all this is little experience here and there, but is just working with the banks. It's one of the most important part, getting financing. There's no other way.
And that's what you help people with.
Yes. So that's what I went through. That's the on the hard way. So if you look at the investors, there's probably a few stages from 1 to 5 rental properties. You're one setup. From 5 to 10 properties, you need a little bit different setup. 10 and more properties, you need a different setup. But in order to go through these stages, the fundamentals, the foundation, have to be set up very well. Mm-hmm. So you are upgrading the system, not just starting to build the house with the roof. You start with the foundation, because a lot of people start buying rental properties, and somewhere in the property 3 or 4, they capped. They cannot buy anymore because their financing cannot come because the ratio is not right. They're out of cash. They have too much equity or too much down payment in all these properties. So if you start in the right way to set up with the mind to buy 20 properties, it's one setup, and you're just upgrading until we get to 5, then you're upgrading to the next level, 10, and then upgrading. But starting the right way is the way to do it.
Cool. So what's the best way for people to get in touch with you or learn more about this?
My name is kind of unique, so you can just Google my name, find me online. But email, Facebook, directly. You can call me directly on my phone. But probably on Facebook, you can find me. Even Instagram, send me a message. I can respond pretty quickly. So.
Cool. Well, Oggie, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. Covered a lot, and I'm sure people will take you up on that and get in touch. So
cool,
appreciate
man.
you stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate that.
You got it.